Good afternoon, gentlemen of the press. I would like to welcome you again to this briefing after the 8th edition of the FRA Executive Council meeting for the year. As you know, the briefing today was in two parts. The first part was the swearing in of the chairman of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission, Professor C.J. Dakas, and one commissioner, Dr. Uchenna Eugene. Of course, you covered that part. And a minute's silence was also observed in honor of late Chief Audu Ogbe, who passed away a few days ago. As you know, Chief Audu Ogbe has been a 3-term member of the Federal Executive Council, beginning with the time when President Shehu Shagari was President of Nigeria, when he was appointed Minister of Communication. He was also appointed during the regime of President Eradua, where he served as the Honorable Minister of Agriculture. A minute silence was observed. I'm sure you were also there when that happened. Council proper began with a memo by the President himself. And to take that, I will allow the Honorable Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy to take us through that presentation by Mr. President. But before I do that, I think it's expedient that I let you know that I have to my extreme right the Honorable Minister of Power, to my immediate right the Honorable Minister of Finance, and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy. And your usual person, the Honorable Minister of Works, to my immediate left, Honorable Minister of Education next to him, and to the extreme right, the Honorable Minister of Transportation. The ground rules remain the same. I have some other briefings to give, but I will wait until all of them do theirs. We will aggregate all the questions, and then at the end of the briefing, and then the various ministers will answer relevant questions. But let me say that it is expedient for all of you to please keep your questions and comments on the subject matter as the Honorable Ministers will discuss today. That will, of course, give us time to, and give you also time to go and file your stories. Should give preference to made in Nigeria goods. Now, recall that the Federal Executive Council had earlier approved the Nigeria First policy, where a directive has been given to MDAs to prioritize only made in Nigeria products unless and until there are situations where this, of course, is not possible. And so further to that, Mr. President and the Federal Executive Council today considered that MDAs must give preference to this, the local use of companies in the delivery of works and services. And these works, goods and services must, however, conform to international standards and must be certified by relevant government agencies. Because we say that we want Nigeria First policy does not mean that procedures and processes will not also be followed. Point number 4 is that honorable ministers have been directed that a significant number of their projects under the 2025 budget are procured using the open competitive bidding. Of course, details of compliance of this should be forwarded also to the BPP for action. Number 5, there is also the need for the Ministry of Finance to ensure that the DG of BPP is included in the team that will negotiate loans that are used for infrastructural development. Recall that occasionally loans are being sought, as we have had at various times, from the Honorable Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy. Now, there is this decision that when these loans are procured, the DG of BPP be also involved. This will ensure adherence and strictness to let-down procedures. The sixth one is that the Finance Act of 2020 intentionally stipulated that government-owned companies and enterprises should comply with the provisions of the Public Procurement Act. Now, the BPP Director General brought this to the floor of the Federal Executive Council. What he said is that because some of these companies are publicly quoted or they are owned by government, they don't necessarily comply to this laid-down procedure. And therefore, he reminded all ministers and members of the Federal Executive Council that the Finance Act of 2020 intentionally stipulates that government-owned companies and enterprises must comply with the provisions of the Public Procurement Act. In other words, they are not insulated from this act just because they are owned by government. I thought I should add also these points to you. This was a submission and consideration for consideration. It was submitted by the Director General of the BPP and considered by the Federal Executive Council. Now, let me open the floor for questions. Please make it as brief, as straightforward, and as focused on what we have discussed today as possible. Yes.